Welcome back to the double leg. I am one half of your host, Hajai Picks, aka Hayden Iverson. Joining me in the other half of the double leg, the parlay, aka Nolan. Welcome in. How did your weekend last weekend go for UFC Vegas 62?
Kind of a tough night of betting, man. I thought I had some really good plays in there. I had Nicholas Maximov in there. He did not look good. Got injured in the first round. Tweaked his knee or whatever was going on. Right when I saw that, him hobbling around, I knew that bet was toast. Other than that, it was kind of a 50-50 up and down weekend. There wasn't, the most action on the card. I figured Alexa Grasso would get it done. I was really shocked, though, to hear the judges call 50-45 on a couple of the scorecards. I thought the fight was a little bit closer than that. I thought Araujo won at least one round, but I guess the judges, at least two of the judges, didn't see it that way. But not a bad night of fights. Heading into UFC 280 though, just kind of a little tease. I think we're in for some monster fights this weekend. A lot of finishes, a lot of close fights. I can't wait for it.
Yeah, I would agree. I did all right. I was in the green betting wise perspective. I think overall I went like 8-3 on my picks, so pretty decent. But there wasn't a ton of upsets. I think there was only like 2 upsets total.
Yep.
So pretty chalk card. My biggest win was on Bet Openly. Actually, I won the contest. Went 5 for 5.
Nice.
And got the full pot. So happy about that. That helped out a lot. But we will move on to the big one, UFC 280 this weekend. In my opinion, the best UFC card I've ever seen put together. A lot of expectations for this one. For me, the last card that I got this excited for was UFC 276, which was the Adesanya, Cannonier, and then Volkanovski, Holloway. That big one in Vegas back in July. And I think this one beats it out. That one kind of disappointed a little bit. You have a ton of expectations towards it, but then you bring in a ton of high-level fighters, and they're very good at offense, they're very good at defense, so you don't get a ton of finishes. I could see this happening on this card as well, but either way, you're going to get a bunch of high-level fighters going against each other, and to see those results happen, I'm very excited about it.
Oh, 100%. And if you look at all the names on this card, there are plenty of fights that could headline a fight night card. I mean, there's so many big names, a lot of up-and-coming names. I mean, you got Makhachev on this card. I mean, every single fight's going to be fun to watch on Saturday from the early prelims on.
I agree. We will get right into it, starting with the main event. I think I've been very vocal about who I'm on in this one. I'm interested to see your take. If you don't follow me on the socials at Hajai Picks, I am big on Charles Oliveira. I have picked against him in all 3 of his title fights: Michael Chandler, Dustin Poirier, Justin Gaethje. I'm not doing that again. He's won me over. Okay, I will never in my life. I made a pact to never bet against Charles Oliveira, and I'm a Charles Oliveira believer, and I'm staying firm on that. I can give my explanation on that, but I want to hear yours first.
So, yeah, if you don't follow me at the parlay on TikTok especially, I've been getting eaten alive all week. I put out a video on how I think Islam Makhachev is going to beat Charles Oliveira. Now, I don't necessarily want that to happen. I'm a Charles fan. I like the whole comeback. He kind of struggled there in the middle of his career. He's on a 11-fight win streak? 11 or 12. And I mean, how can you not like a guy like that? He's down in the dumps. He's losing fights. Moves up to lightweight, and he's just dominated. I mean, he's looked really, really good. He's beaten a ton of top guys here lately. Justin Gaethje, Dustin Poirier, Tony Ferguson. But, Tony's kind of been on the downhill slide. That was kind of the beginning of Tony's downhill slide. But Islam Makhachev, he's that Dagestani wrestler. He's under Khabib. This is kind of Khabib's protege, so to say. And I just think it's a tough matchup for Charlie Olives. I think Makhachev, not the most technical striker on the feet, but he's strong. He's tough. If he gets his hands locked, you're probably going to the ground. And that's where this thing's going to get super, super interesting. You got Charles, the greatest submission artist in the lightweight division, maybe the UFC of all time. And then Islam, who every time he gets an opponent to the ground, he controls them, he dominates them, and you're usually not getting up once he gets it there. But again, it makes it close because you got Charles Oliveira with all those ground skills. I'm just leaning Islam. I think it's Islam's time. I think he's got the right team around him, obviously, and Habib and Javier Mendez as a coach. You know, he's just got the tools. He's got the coaches, the people around him. I'd love to see Charles Oliveira win, but my gut is telling me Islam Makhachev at UFC 280 in the main event.
I could definitely see where you're coming from. I'm not one to turn a blind eye to that kind of logic. Just for me, I think there's more paths to victory for Charles Oliveira, and that's something that I would want to back as a better. And he's a dog. You know, he's slight underdog here at plus 155. He opened up quite a bit wider, I believe. He was like plus 200 at one point, kind of got brought down to about 150, 160, and seems to be rising a little bit more towards in Makhachev's favor as the week goes on. But just more past the victory, and with it being 5 rounds, I mean, Makhachev, I don't want to say he doesn't have like finishing ability, but for him to win this fight, I think he has to go position over submission in every aspect. He can't give Charles any kind of openings to make a scramble, to get back to his feet. I think he has to, kind of just be a wet blanket on him the entire 5 rounds. And I don't see anyone doing that to Charles Oliveira. Every round starts on the feet. If he gets him down for a round and keeps him there, he's going to have to come back to him the next round and be on the feet with him. And I think Charles has a big advantage on the feet if he takes it there. He also has one of the best guillotines in the UFC that we've seen. Submissions anywhere. And just, in my opinion, for 5 rounds, I'm going to bet on Charles Oliveira to push for a finish. And that's why I gotta go with him. I do have a couple plays on him. I would like to see him do it inside the distance if he does do it. So you're not really getting a ton of juice back on that. But by KO, I saw it at like plus 450. I think that's definitely live. Islam has been slept before, but it was a while ago. It's kind of like a fluke KO. It wasn't against anyone to that high level. But again, this is a big step up in competition for Islam coming into a pay-per-view. He hasn't been on a pay-per-view in quite some time. I think the last one was Saryukin, when he fought Saryukin. And it wasn't, I don't know if it was on the main card or not. I'm not sure. Can't remember. But yeah, just a big step up for him. Not too many people go into a title fight after beating Bobby Green. Right. So I'm on Charles.
Yeah, no, and especially at these odds, looking at Charles Oliveira as the underdog. And if you're a Charles fan, those odds look super, super good. And you should definitely lay some money on it. And I'm not saying, like, if you're a betting man, Charles Oliveira is probably the play because he is an underdog. He's beaten all these top guys. He definitely, like you said, has a lot more ways to win this fight. So if you're betting on Charles Oliveira, you're definitely betting on that knockout or submission. And if you're on Islam, it's definitely, can he keep him down when he's on the ground without getting that neck exposed, without getting choked out? I mean, that's going to be the name of the game here. Can Islam Makhachev control Charles Oliveira without getting submitted? And for Oliveira, like you said, more past victory. Can he knock him out? Can he catch the neck? Can he take his back and submit him that way? There are a lot more ways for Charles Oliveira to win. But man, I just have that gut feeling, and I'm going to look like a clown if Charles does win. I hope he does win because I'm rooting for him, because I've put that out on TikTok and it caught fire, and everybody's been on my ass about it. But so yeah, like I said, I want Charlie Olives to win, but my gut's telling me Islam, man. There are some great odds in this fight, though. Like you said, Charles Oliveira by knockout plus 450. Even on DraftKings right now, it's up to plus 550. By submission, plus 300. Decisions plus 1,200. I don't see this fight going to a decision. I don't see Charles winning a decision. But what's interesting is Islam Makhachev to win by KO is plus 300. And I don't necessarily think that will be the case in this fight either. Islam to win by submission is plus 200. That's better odds than Charles Oliveira to win by submission, which is crazy to me. That is crazy.
Yeah. I just don't see how it goes 5 rounds
Right.
with the way Charles fights. Either way, Charles is going to look for a finish. He could get the finish. He could get caught either way.
Yep. Exactly.
But we'll move on to the co-main event. I think a fight that's flying under the radar here.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Check that out of the way. Yeah. So the co-main event, Aljamain Sterling and TJ Dillashaw for the Bantamweight Championship. TJ coming off the injury. I believe he tore ACL or tore a lot of stuff in his knee.
Yep.
In his fight with Corey Sandhagen. And then Aljamain Sterling coming off the win, split decision win over Petrogian to retain the belt. Who you got in this one?
This is another tough one. I mean, Aljamain Sterling, I don't want to say I had my doubts about him, but I wasn't sure if he was quite championship caliber. And then he went into the fight with Jan, and he looked good early in their first fight. And then Jan started to kind of take over, and everybody knows Jan made the mistake, threw the illegal knee. So Aljo got the DQ win. But in that second fight, Aljo, another big underdog going in, dude, he looks phenomenal in that fight. He did whatever he had to do to win. It wasn't pretty by any means. He took the back, a lot of control time. But if he was able to control Petrogian like that, I mean, Petrogian is the best bantamweight in the world, pound for pound, in my opinion. I think a lot of people agree with that. And he was able to control Jan, ultimately getting the win. I know it was close. Some people feel differently. I think Aljamain Sterling won the fight. So he's tough. He can compete with anybody, obviously. And then the question for TJ is going to be, he had the long layoff with having the EPO in his system, got busted, had to take a couple of years off, comes back, fights Sandhagen, hurt basically from the very beginning of the fight with the knee, but ends up grinding out the decision win. So TJ, obviously, he's been around forever. He's been the champion before. 17-4 on the record. He's a slight underdog here. I think if this fight goes to the ground and Aljamain Sterling can get his back or gain control, I don't think there's going to be much TJ can do. Aljo's longer limbs. He's just that much better on the ground than TJ. But TJ's got like an 86% takedown defense. He's shown time and time again that he is, maybe not an elite level offensive wrestler, but stuffing takedowns, he's very knowledgeable. He's competent enough to stuff a lot of these top guys' takedowns. That's going to be the big question to me. On the feet striking, it kind of go either way. TJ's cuts his angles really well. He's got great footwork. He's just solid all the way around. And Aljamain Sterling has good striking too. But Aljo's going to want this thing on the mat. TJ's probably going to want it on the feet. So the name of the game for him is, can TJ stuff the takedowns and drag Aljamain Sterling into deep water, in my opinion? Because TJ will be there for all 5 rounds.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I also had my doubts with Aljo, just with how he won the belt. Everyone did, everyone doubted him. That's why he was such a big underdog going into that second fight with Petrogian, and really made it to where you kind of had to give him the championship. You had to give him the belt. I thought in live time, I thought Petrogian won that fight. But watching it back, I also had a bet on Petrogian. I was a little biased. But watching it back, I think Aljo did win that, and people are gonna doubt him even more coming into this fight. If TJ didn't come off such a long layoff and the injury, I think Aljo would be a much bigger favorite here. Mm-hmm. It just Aljo, I want to doubt him, but he's shown that he should not be doubted. And if you listen to his breakdowns, he does a lot on media as far as like breaking down fights, podcasts and stuff like that. Dude's IQ is very good. His fight IQ is very good. And I think he will play to his strengths in every fight that he has. He knows where he wants the fight to be. He wants to be take it to the ground. He wants to take your back and use his strength. You know, his strength with his grip around his arms, around his legs is top notch. He's, as you can see in the picture, right there, his profile picture. I mean, the dude is shredded.
Yeah.
So is TJ. He just saw a picture on his Instagram today of his like 72 hours out or whatever. Dude's shredded too. This one's gonna be a dogfight. I think it's gonna go 5. I think it's gonna come down to whoever executes their game plan better. And I think Aljo will. Just with TJ's age, he's 36, coming off the injury. I don't think he really won that fight with Corey Sandhagen. I don't really think he should be in this position to begin with. Does he deserve this position? Maybe. But if he hadn't, if his name wasn't that big, he wouldn't be in this position.
Right. Yeah, I agree.
And I'm going to take Aljo. I wouldn't be too invested in it as from a betting standpoint. But I'm going to take Aljo. I'll probably put a little play on him. But this one is a little greasy. I'm very excited to watch it because it's just TJ's a legend in the bantamweight division. You know, if he wins this, like, you got to have a decent conversation for TJ as the bantamweight GOAT, being
100%.
a 3-time champion.
Yeah.
He's up there with the best of them.
Yeah.
But I'm going to go Aljo.
Yeah, funny story, actually. Aljamain Sterling's first fight with Petrogian, I placed a bet on Aljo just because of what he did to Sandhagen. I thought, okay, maybe he's got a shot. And the odds were ridiculous. I think it was like plus 350 for Aljo to win that first fight. And as the fight went on, I'm like, man, this bet is toast. Petrogian's going to take this easy, and then the illegal knee, and I win the bet off of the illegal knee. Finally a bad beat works in my favor.
Yeah, right.
But no, I'm with you, man. It almost feels like to me this is definitely TJ's last chance at gold, last chance to obtain a title and be in this title picture. Like you said, he's 36. The bantamweight division is stacked. There are so many people coming up right now that TJ could probably get lost in that, top 5 area and stay there for a while if he doesn't beat Aljo. And Aljamain Sterling, he's just one of those guys that's kind of was the dark horse of the division. Submitted Corey Sandhagen in round 1, beat Jan by DQ, and then beat Jan by decision. I think it could potentially be Aljo's time right now, and we might see him as the champion for the next few years. I think he's getting better every single time we see him. So I will not be surprised if he goes out there and, beats TJ 49-46. I don't necessarily want to say 50-45 because TJ is such a grinder and he's such a dog.
Yeah.
But man, I can see Aljo taking this thing. I could see it looking like a close fight, but not really being a close fight. To the viewers, it looks decently close, but score-wise, 49-46. Could definitely see that happening. Right now, if I am going to bet on the fight, I'm going to go Aljamain Sterling by decision. I think TJ's skilled enough on the ground that he's not going to get submitted, but I think Aljo could get him into some positions that TJ's not going to be able to really score points out of or steal rounds out of. So, yeah, definitely Aljamain Sterling in this fight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I completely agree. I don't think if Aljo gets your back in any way, you're losing that round. You're not getting out of it. But TJ is such a dog. Like he's going to go the distance.
Oh, for sure.
But speaking of bantamweights, another great fight in the bantamweight division here.
Oh, man.
Speaking of Petrogian as well. And I think Aljamain is a terrible matchup for a lot of these bantamweights. And 2 of them right here. I think Petrogian doesn't match up with him very well. Neither does Sean O'Malley. But Sean O'Malley getting the big step up in competition here. Coming off the no decision eye poke with Pedro Munoz, jumps all the way up to fighting the number 1 ranked contender in the bantamweight division. Petrogian, I think from a title race for him, this is not a good fight for him. But for publicity standpoint, and I guess maybe just a little pride, little ego boost to take on Sean O'Malley. And if he's confident enough, he gets it done. But the risk to reward ratio there is not great. How do you see this one playing out?
Super interesting, man. Petrogian, again, he's going to come in here. I think most books have it at minus 310. If you look on Bet Openly, he's minus 256. So if you're a Petrogian bettor, I mean, you've got to get on Bet Openly because that's a huge jump in odds. Minus
Mm-hmm.
256 versus minus 300. But Sean O'Malley, this is a win-win situation for him. If he loses the fight, he's supposed to lose to Petrogian, the pound-for-pound best bantamweight to most people. If he wins, you're getting catapulted right into the next title shot. That's a huge opportunity for the UFC. If Sean O'Malley wins, Sean O'Malley is your ideal champion for the UFC. He brings in the most eyeballs on the sport in his fights. He's going to sell the most pay-per-views. He's going to bring in the most money. From a skill standpoint, Petrogian is so well-rounded. His boxing is crisp. He can grapple. He's tough. He's strong. But Sean O'Malley is just he's almost a different breed of bantamweights. He's not your typical TJ Dillashaw or Aljo with the grappling and wrestling, or Jan, who's just kind of short and compact and strikes really well. He's long. He's got great kicks. He's fast. I mean, his striking on the feet looks really, really, really good. And he's shown that time and time again with all these knockouts. Now, the knock on him, obviously, is he hasn't fought many people in that top 15. Pedro Munoz was kind of his big jump, and we all know that one ended early. It was upsetting to see because I think we were going to see a lot out of Sean O'Malley going into those last few rounds. We're going to learn a lot about him. But going into this fight, like I said, there's nothing to lose for Sean O'Malley, and that's a dangerous fighter. A guy who doesn't have all the pressure in the world on him. If he loses, okay, you're supposed to lose. You're still, you just fought the number one guy in the world. Your stock goes up regardless. All the pressure is going to lie on Petrogian because if you lose to this kid who's ranked, outside the top 10, never fought somebody inside the top 10, it's not a good look, especially coming off of, a technical loss by DQ, a loss by decision, and then you lose to Sean O'Malley. It's tough. Like, what do you do with Petrogian from there? He kind of gets bumped down, in my opinion. So I don't know, man. It's tough. A lot of people are writing Sugar Sean O'Malley off, but the kid can come out there and steal round one. I think this whole entire fight is going to come down to round two. Sean gets round one. Petrogian maybe gets round 2 and 3. Peter is going to come on strong. He's going to be ready in that third round. But if Sean can steal the first round, it gets super, super interesting. All you got to do from there is not get knocked out, have some good striking exchanges, hope you win round 2, and then from there, it's in the judges' hands, I guess. I don't see either guy knocking each other out, though. I really don't in this one.
Yeah, I think it's absolutely crucial for Sean to steal round 1. And I'd like to piggyback off what you were saying about him being an unusual fighter for the division, because you look at the guys top of the bantamweight division, you got Aljo, TJ, Petrogian, Chito Vera, all like gritty, durable guys that very physical, whether it's on the feet or on the ground. Sean O'Malley, more of a quick, hit you, get out of the way, spinning, explosive, fast guy that wants to just touch you and put volume on you, but also has power in his arsenal. So that kind of leaves a question of styles. Which style is going to prevail in this one? I'm not sure. I don't know. But I think a path to victory for Petrogian. Petrogian's wrestling is underrated, and his trips, his takedowns against Aljo were very, very effortless in the first fight. So I'd be interested to see if he takes that route. But from an ego standpoint, I don't see him doing that. As far as like, you're Petrogian, this great striker, you're gonna fight a great striker in Sean O'Malley. The ego would tell you want to, prove that you're the better striker. But the path to victory is there for him. I think that's probably the easiest way for him to win this fight. But Sean O'Malley is very fast, and I don't know that Petrogian is going to take that path. I'd also want to question Piotr's fight IQ or like fight emotional intelligence. Just based on his last fight, he was very, he's a big favorite and wanted to kind of right that wrong with that DQ, and it seemed like he was fighting a little more aggressive than he has in his past, and that allowed him to get taken down by Aljo a couple times and never was able to get up from it. So this one's interesting. I would probably lean dog or pass in this one. Like you said, I think it goes to decision. So I'm pretty sure the over under is juiced to the over pretty
Oh
heavily.
yeah, yeah,
So I don't know if that it might be worth it to throw in the parlay or something like that, a little parlay piece. But um, yeah, as far as a pick, I don't I don't know who to pick. I mean, I'm probably just gonna go with Jan.
yeah.
Um, but O'Malley is very live. I would also be a little cautious about betting Sean O'Malley because a lot of people know his name, and a lot of people that don't necessarily watch MMA a ton are gonna just bet on Sean O'Malley at
Yeah.
that plus money. So that line could get driven down pretty far before the fight actually happens. So maybe you lose a lot of value there. But yeah, I'm gonna go with Jan for the sake of the pick. Might sprinkle like a little bit on O'Malley by decision. Pretty sure it's like plus 400 somewhere around there, plus 450. That's some pretty good value. So
Yeah, no, I agree. And yeah, I'm looking now. Sean O'Malley to win by decision plus 500 is what it's jumped to. And Petrogian to win by decision minus 110. So, on the money line, it'd be a risky bet to take Petrogian at minus, 250 to 300.
yeah,
And minus 110 on decision, I don't think that's a ton of value either. I think it should be plus money. So if you are going to go by decision, I think if O'Malley does win, it is by decision. So if you're riding on O'Malley, plus 500 is pretty damn good. That's pretty good value if that's if you
right.
think Sean O'Malley's going to win the fight. But yeah, if I had to pick who's going to win straight up, throw the odds and betting out, who do you truly think is going to win? I think it is going to be Petrogian. But I think Sean O'Malley's being kind of written off here, and I think the money line and the odds should be a little bit tighter than they are for sure. It's gonna be fun though. It's gonna be a fun one.
Yeah, no, definitely. And if a fight goes to a decision, a close fight, you want to be holding that underdog ticket.
Yeah, for sure.
And who knows what the judging is going to be like in Abu Dhabi.
Yep.
That's you never know what you're going to get any night of the
Yep.
week. So we'll move on though. Another really good fight in the lightweight division here. Benil Dariush and Mateusz Gamrot. Dariush was set to fight Islam Makhachev back in, was it like February
Yeah. Yep.
of this year? Pulled out with an injury. That was kind of the title eliminator there. And then ultimately Makhachev got the nod after beating Bobby Green. But Dariush has been off for over a year and 4 months. Beat Tony Ferguson. So some question marks there, especially coming off that injury as well. Gamrot coming off the big win as an underdog back in June to Arman Saryukin. Who are you thinking for this one?
Benil Dariush is a guy that just kind of surprises me every time. He gets in there. He's got extremely good submissions in jiu-jitsu for this division. Wins over Tony Ferguson, Diego Ferreira. The guy's super, super good. But if you look at Gamrot, there's just something about him and his style of fighting. He's a little more aggressive, it feels like. He's a little more powerful, more athletic, in my opinion, I guess. But it is a tough one because it's hard to write off Benil after what he's done in this division. And like I said, the skills on the ground are really, really good. But on the other side, you got Gamrot, who's got phenomenal skills as well on the ground. We saw in that last fight against Saryukin. I did not pick him to win that fight, and he looked pretty damn good all the way around. So I got to go with Gamrot here. I think Benil Dariush is a good fighter. I just don't see him breaking that top 3 threshold right now, at least, I guess. But he's 33 years old, so it's now or never for him. Gamrot's 31, kind of in the same boat. I just think Gamrot is just a little bit sharper. Maybe not as skilled with the jiu-jitsu and submissions, but just a little sharper, a little quicker. I see him winning this fight, though.
Yeah, I do as well. He's sitting at almost a 2-1 favorite. I'm not sure if that's a ton of value there. I mean, it seems a little bit wide for me from a betting standpoint. I do think he wins. Dariush has good BJJ, and Gamrot has one of the nastiest single legs that I've seen. He really hunts it, and he sticks to it. So this fight's probably gonna hit the ground at some point. I would be interested. Let me just take a look and see what Dariush by sub would be.
Looks like plus 1,000 right now.
Plus 1,000.
Isn't that crazy?
That does seem crazy.
Gamrot's got better odds to get a submission in this fight at plus 700.
Yeah,
Seems a little backwards.
Yeah, Dariush has 8 subs, and you got to figure this fight's going to hit the ground at some point. I don't see Gamrot allowing this to stay on the feet. I know Dariush probably would want it to stay on the feet. He's pretty solid on the feet. A little wild, but very exciting on the feet. Like his fights with that fight with Jakar Close.
Yep.
I believe it was Jakar Close. That was a crazy one. But yeah, I'm gonna go with Gamrot on this one. I think he's just the better athlete. And then with the layoff for Dariush, who knows what he's gonna be like. I know he was kind of complaining that he wasn't the backup to be in the main event, and Volkanovski got the nod there. I was like, dude, just focus on your fight. And you're trying to get out of your fight that you got right now. It's just a bad look there, but yeah, I'll take Gamrot. You got anything else on that one?
No, Gamrot actually, he does look really sharp on the feet. I think he's going to be faster than Dariush. Dariush has been hit a couple of times, in his past fights. He does take him on the chin every now and then. I don't mind the Gamrot by KO at plus 350. I really don't. The next best bet you're probably going to get's plus 130 with these guys being so skilled with the BJJ. I don't think either one's going to submit each other. I just don't see it. It could definitely happen, but I don't mind the knockout odds for Gamrot at plus 350. I really don't. I'm probably going to sprinkle on that. That might be my only play on this fight because, like you said, Gamrot 2-1 favorite. It's a little wide to play that money line. This might be a fight I'm looking to kind of steal some money back here from the books at plus 350. I'm going to go Gamrot by KO, I think.
Yeah, I don't hate that because Dariush is pretty hittable on the feet.
Yep.
And he's shown that he'll stand in there and trade with you as well.
Yep.
We'll move on to the first fight in the main card, women's MMA. Caitlin Chikagian and Manon Fiero, the chick from France. That's what Caitlin Chikagian called her. But for Fiero, she's on a 9-fight win streak. Her only loss was her debut as a pro to Leah McCourt, the Bellator fighter, who's also in the top 5 or top 10 for Bellator. So she's on a bit of a streak. She's been looking really good. Just won her last fight against Jennifer Maia at UFC Columbus. And then for Chikagian, coming off the split decision win to Amanda Ribas, which was a bit of a greasy one. I can confirm that because I had a good amount of money on her, and I was clenching my cheeks when the decision was being read. But the one before that, Jennifer Maia, she got that one done pretty easily.
Yeah.
I don't know how long she's been the number 1 contender in the women's flyweight division, but it seems like she's been there forever. What are you thinking on this one?
I think for women's MMA, this is a fun fight. It's kind of a must watch for this division. Fiero, the French chick, she's so crisp on the feet, and Caitlin Chikagian is too. I think you're going to see some super high level women's MMA in this fight. Fiero almost 2-1 favorite right now. I understand why. I think I don't want to say more skilled, but she's a little more polished to say. She's a little more aggressive. And so far, man, she's just looked phenomenal in her last few fights. Chikagian has, she's looked good too, but something's telling me, Fiero is going to go out there. I think Chikagian is going to be just a tad outclassed in this fight. Wherever this fight goes, really. I think Fiero's going to be the quicker fighter. Her hands are faster. I love her spinning kicks. She throws those body shots well. Chikagian, fun to watch too, though. But I think Fiero takes this one. I think she's had this circled on her calendar for a while. I think she's looking forward to it. I got to take Fiero here. And I think for me, this is going to be This is going to be a parlay piece for me. I don't necessarily like taking Fiero at 2-1. I'm actually pretty confident that she's going to beat Chukagian, which is why I'm going to throw her in a parlay. Like I said, don't like the odds just straight up. I'm going to definitely throw it in there and get some juicier odds for myself. But yeah, Fiero definitely. That's who I'm rocking with in this fight.
Well, it seems like we're agreeing on a lot of these because I'm the same way. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but in your analysis of Fiero being like the better striker, I think it's more just like more aggressive, more like power, more finishing
Right.
ability. You know, Chukagian has 22 professional fights. She's got 3 finishes.
Right. Exactly.
So just an absolute decision machine. And, you know, it's a little sketchy going to decisions in women's MMA. And for Fiero, a little bit more finishing ability. She's got 7 KOs on her record. I think she gets this one done as well. I would want to say it's like a passing of the torch here, but Fiero is 32 and Chukagian's only 33, so they're not big in age difference. But I do think it's kind of like a passing of the position or the rankings.
Right.
You know?
Yep. Exactly.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna take Fiero. I do have her in a parlay as well. I think she's a good parlay piece, and I got one bet on her on Bet Openly at -193 just for a unit. So I'm pretty high on Manon Fiero, which scares me a little bit because it's women's MMA. But this is a little bit higher level.
Right.
We have a little bit more confidence in it. So yeah, I'll take Fiero.
I like it, man.
All right, we'll move on to the featured prelim. Absolute, I wouldn't say banger, but a really high level fight. Two wrestlers here, Bilal Muhammad and Sean Brady. Sean Brady undefeated. It's been almost a year off for him. Last win against Michael Chiesa. Bilal Muhammad is on an absolute tear. His only bad performance was a loss, or not a loss, but a no contest eye poke to the current champion.
Yep.
But then won against Damian Maia, beat Stephen Thompson very handedly, and then beat Vicente Luque, who I thought was going to be fighting for a title pretty soon.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I'm leaning Bilal Muhammad here as the dog. And he's been training with Khabib, which is always
that's a plus,
a good sign, you know. And for Sean Brady, like his best win is Michael Chiesa or against Jake Matthews is solid as well. Hasn't like proved himself as much, but Jake Matthews is a good fighter. Bilal Muhammad's been more active. He's taken out some really good fighters. He's been in there with really good fighters. I'm going to lean Bilal Muhammad in this one. I think he's definitely worth a dog shot. I do think it goes to decision as well. So Bilal Muhammad by decision, I think that's like probably not too much more.
Yeah, let's see. It's for him to win by decision plus 180.
Yeah.
So a little more there.
It's a little almost 2-1 or 1-2. So I think that's pretty solid. What are you thinking?
Yeah, it's a tough one because we're finally going to see Sean Brady up against a style that can match him a little bit, or at least on paper should be able to. Bilal Muhammad, another fighter who seems to get better every time out. Against Vicente Luque, I had Luque all over that fight. I thought Luque, this is a great matchup for him. He's going to go in there and get it done. And Bilal just kind of dominated him, man. So Bilal is definitely, as an underdog, hard to ignore, especially with his last few performances. He'll grind it out with you. He'll strike with you a little bit. But I keep hearing that Sean Brady, all these people who have trained with him, who watched him growing up in the regional scenes, say his strength is just on another level. And they're not surprised at all that he's 16-0 right now. I think for Sean Brady, he almost, I don't want to say he needs to get a finish quickly, but I think he's going to go out there, and if he does want to get the for sure win, it's got to be early because Bilal will be there the whole entire fight. Bilal by decision plus 180, Brady by decision plus 150. So I don't know. I'm going to be opposite of you here. I'm going to take the up-and-coming 16-0 guy. I think he remains undefeated and beats Belal Muhammad. I'm just going to take his money line there because minus 140 on Bet Openly. It's going to be a lot better than that. Bet Openly, you can get him for minus 130. So that's going to be my play on this fight. I'm going to just take straight-up money line. Sean Brady remains undefeated, and someone finally beats Belal Muhammad.
You think he's got any chance to sub?
I don't know if he's got a chance to sub. I think Belal is competent enough on the ground where he'll be able to protect his neck. I could see, Brady get that ground and pound going, and then for a split second, Belal leaves that neck open and Brady snatches up a rear naked choke or something. But I don't know. Plus 450, not bad for him to win, for Brady to win by submission. I think I see this one going to all the way to the judges' scorecards. So Sean Brady for me, minus 140. That's where I'm at.
Yeah, for some reason, you get two grapplers in there or two guys that really want to grapple. I think this fight could maybe just stay on the feet.
Yeah,
because neither guy wants to test each other's. And for that one, Sean Brady looks a little more crisp on the feet. I mean, Belal is solid. Both of them are very similar. They kind of cancel each other out on the feet and on the ground. So I'm gonna stick with the dog. And you're on Sean Brady.
Yep, and I actually don't mind the dog. I mean, I don't mind that pick at all. Like you said, it's more of a pick'em fight for me at this point.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll see what happens. Another super interesting fight that could be a headliner on a fight night card. I mean, we're getting a ton of these.
Yeah, I mean, if Belal wins, it's kind of a bad fight for Belal too. I mean, he's fighting a guy lower than him. He's on a win streak. Kind of weird that he would take that fight, but he probably just wanted to stay active and stay in the loop. So
yeah, 100%.
We'll move on to the middleweight division. We got Makhmed Muradov and Caio Baralho. Muradov coming off the loss to Gerald Mearshart, which he was like a pretty big favorite in that one, like minus 575. And then Baralho just on an absolute tear. I will never bet against a neck tat. Just not something I can do. So I'm going to go with Baralho on this one. I think he can get it to the ground. He's a very good grappler. Muradov's takedown defense is pretty bad. At least he showed it in his last fight. I don't know if he's just gassed or what. It was kind of a weird one with him being such a big favorite in that one. Gerald Mearshart is always game for a submission. So you can't fault him for that one. I mean, Gerald Mearshart's got the most submissions in middleweight history. So a fluke, I wouldn't call it a fluke because Gerald Mearshart is very good. But I don't think his takedown defense is that great. On the feet, he is very solid, but I think Baralho can hold his own on the feet. And if he gets it to the ground, this guy is very strong. And he can hold that position. He gets your back. I don't think you're going to get up. I don't think Muradov's going to get up at least.
Right.
So I'm going to take Baralho almost a little over a 2-1 favorite. So a little chalky there, but I think he gets the job done. What are you thinking?
Absolutely. I think he's a beast, man. This is another parlay piece for me. Minus 195 right now on the book. So yeah, almost a 2-1. So I don't like that, betting us straight up at minus 195, but putting him into a parlay, I honestly think he dominates this fight. I don't think it's going to be on the feet very long. If it's up to him, I think if he goes for a takedown, he's going to get it. Like you said, he's insanely strong. He's big. He's an aggressive guy. And once he gets guys on the ground, it's almost game over. He can ground and pound. He'll look for the neck. His control is very, very good. You can tell he's super skilled in the grappling department. And if you look, if you're looking on sites, it has a loss in there somewhat recently, but it was a grappling match against Jailton Almeida, who's another monster right now in the UFC. He's just exactly. Yeah. So he's just one of those guys that is scary, especially if he gets his hands locked and gets you down. He almost suffocates guys. And I look for him to do that again here on Saturday against Muradov. Like I said, he's another guy that this is one of my more confident guys this weekend. I'm going to throw him into a parlay just so I can get some better odds. yeah, I think Kyle gets it done. I really do. I like him in this fight a lot.
Yeah, I think he's a very up and coming prospect in the middleweight division, and
Yeah.
he's been seen training with Hamza Chimaev, so
Yep.
that is always a good sign as well.
And then
Give me
if you
Barrio.
look, yeah, if you look, his under, I think the total rounds is under 2.5 minus 115. I kind of like that. I could see him going out there from the very beginning, getting dominant position, and just looking for that finish all night long, and finally finding it in the first couple rounds. I really do see that happening. And minus 115 for an under, not too bad.
Yeah, yeah, I see Barrio by sub at plus 300.
Mm-hmm.
That's not too bad either.
No, not at all.
For him to be a 2-1 favorite, and in all likeliness, if he does finish it, it's probably by sub.
Right.
All right. Seems like we're on the same page there.
Yes, sir.
All right, we'll move on to the light heavyweight division. This one, I think this fight is going to be really good as well.
Mm-hmm.
Vulcan Uzumur and Nikita Kurylov. Both of them, they've been fighting on like the same cards. They last fought in UFC London.
Yeah.
Kurylov just absolutely dusted Alexander Gustafsson. Probably should have threw the gloves in there after that one for Gus.
Yeah.
For Uzumur, one of the weirdest fights that I've seen in recent history against Paul Craig, which was just, I had money on Paul Craig just because I just love the guy, dude. He's a very intense dude,
Yep.
but the way he fights is not intense at all. And Uzumur fought exactly how he should, and Paul Craig had no answer for it. So
Yeah.
very boring fight in that one, but got the job done. Showed good IQ, but before that, lost to Ankalaev and the knockout by the current champ, Nikita Kurylov. The dumb fight for him. Lost to Paul Craig by the submission, and then a loss to Ankalaev. I went back and watched the Ankalaev fight for both of these guys. Kurylov definitely won that first round against Ankalaev. I think Kurylov has a higher ceiling here, but it's just you don't know what version of Kurylov you're going to get.
Yeah.
And that's kind of my problem here. Uzumur, a little bit higher IQ. He's going to fight a good fight for you. He's a really good kickboxer, good power. He's the dog here, which makes it a little tempting. But Kurylov is very talented all around. It's just you don't know what you're going to get from him.
Yep.
What are you thinking?
I got to go with the dog here. And, if you look at both of these guys' records, both guys have fought at the highest level in this division. Magomed Ankalaev both have fought. Ozdemir lost to Jiri Prohaska, the champ right now. Mm-hmm. So he's fighting at a high level. He beat Paul Craig, unlike Kurylov, but you can't really judge it. I mean, MMA math just never works out, saying this guy beat him, so he's going to win. But Kurylov coming off the win over Gus, I think we all saw that coming. Gustafsson has not looked the same in a long, long time. He hasn't been very active. Lost to Paul Craig, lost to Magomed, and then lost to Glover Teixeira. So he's losing to the top guys too. And then he lost to Jan. It seems like his big downfall is always the grapplers and getting caught in a submission like he did against Jan. Lost to Glover by decision. And then lost the triangle choke to Paul Craig. But on the feet, I've got to give it to Ozdemir. I thought he looked super sharp in his last fight. He's got, like you said, he's got the fight IQ on the feet. He's got the power. And just for the fact that he's a plus 145 dog right now, I like that a lot. I think Kurylov, fighting Alexander Gustafsson, we didn't get to see a lot of – I think we all expected him to do that. So we didn't see him at his full potential against a guy who's going to bring it. I got to go with Ozdemir. He's beaten Alexander Rakic, guys like that. So it's a tough one. It's another coin flip, but I'm going to go with Ozdemir. I like him on the feet a lot more. I'm hoping that's where this thing stays. I see them just trading shots. I could see an early finish out of one of these guys. And right now, I'm sticking on the underdog.
Yeah, Kurylov is a bit more, I would say, like bouncy, a little more fleet of foot. But Uzdemir's leg kicks are brutal.
Nasty.
Just even against Ankalaev, like he was chewing up Ankalaev's leg. Everyone remembers Uzumur against Rakic. What he did to Rakic's leg,
Yeah,
just that huge hematoma. So yeah, I think it's dog a pass here. From a
absolutely.
betting perspective, uh, Kurylov was almost a 2-1 favorite against Gustafsson. If Gustafsson didn't have the name, I think he would have been a lot, uh, a lot wider than that one. So
100%. Yeah.
yeah, I'm gonna go Uzdemir. Um, I might be throwing a little dough towards his way as well. But Krylov, if Krylov fights to his best potential, I think he wins.
Yeah.
Just I wouldn't want to trust my money with him.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. I think it's another fun fight, though. Can't wait to see what happens. I don't mind Ozdemir by KO either. Like you said, those leg kicks are nasty. He's going to get Krylov to maybe drop the hands, come upstairs with one of those, hit him with a big shot. I could see somebody getting knocked out in this fight, but I like
Mhm.
the underdog.
Yeah, he is world class on the feet for
Yep.
sure. Move on to the prelim in the featherweight division. Probably gonna butcher this name, but Zubaira Tukugov and Lucas Almeida. Tukugov coming off the win almost a year ago. It was the last time in Abu Dhabi against Ricardo Ramos, who is I think very highly of.
Yep.
And then Lucas Almeida coming off the win in his debut to Mike Trezano, who I don't think as highly of, but it was a very good performance by Lucas Almeida in his debut. What are you thinking on this one?
Yeah. So with Almeida, he actually won me some money in his debut. He was an underdog in that fight, got the knockout. Um, he looked okay up until that point. It was late in the fight that he found the knockout. He is powerful though. He's got some really good hands, and he's kind of one of those guys you haven't really seen enough of yet at this level to be confident in picking him in all these fights. So yeah, I don't know where I stand so much with him. We all know that Zubara, he's going to come out there. He's going to be ready to fight. He's that Russian fighter, like basically Habib. All of those guys are. They're tough. They can get you to the ground. They'll grind out decision wins. Good ground and pound too. Lost to Hakeem Dawodu by split decision. Other than that, the Renato Moicano, that's not a terrible loss.
Yeah,
A guy he
also
was fighting
6 years
with.
ago too.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
who knows?
198, UFC 198.
Yeah.
So since then, I don't like that he hasn't been as active. That's my one
Uh-huh.
knock on him in this fight. But yeah, it's another tough one to call. Right now, I do think Zabaro is going to get it. I think Almeida, like I said, we need to see a little bit more of him to be confident in picking in him. But the line's still pretty close. So there are some people who have faith in Almeida in this fight. And that's probably just based on what he did against Mike Trezano in his last one. But I got to go with the favorite here. I just think he's got a lot more experience. He could probably get this thing to the ground if he wanted to. And it might be kind of one of those grinded out type of fights by Zubara.
Yeah, I would lean the same way. But like you said, like who knows how good this Lucas Almeida is. He is
Exactly.
pretty big for the division. He's 5'11", 71-inch reach. He's gonna have 3 inches in height and 3 inches in reach on Tukugov. Um, Almeida's only loss, I believe he's 14-1. His only loss is to Daniel Zellhuber,
Mm-hmm.
who fights up at lightweight. That was on Dana White Contender Series, and Zellhuber did look absolutely awful in his debut,
Yeah,
but
he did.
that one I'll never let him live down because that
Yeah.
was one of the biggest disappointments. But that fight was an absolute banger. That Dana White Contender Series fight was back and
Mm-hmm.
forth, a lot of volume. Very easily could have went Almeida's way, and he could be undefeated stepping into this fight, but did get the loss. And he has been more active. That's just really something that I hate is like backing guys that haven't been active. Just never
Right.
know how they're gonna come back from it.
Yeah, or
Um,
was it an injury? Like what's going on behind the scenes? Like you just never know with those type of things.
yeah. But with the people around him training with Habib, at AKA, he's around good people. I would expect him to be very ready for this fight.
Yeah.
Uh, that's another thing. Like, if you're taking time off, that probably means you're not taking a fight that you're not completely ready for.
Right.
So yeah, I'm gonna go with the favorite as well, but who knows? I wouldn't get too invested in it.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's just a lot of question marks. Who knows how good Almeida is? Who knows how Tukugov's gonna go
Yep.
come out in this one? But yeah, I'll take Tukugov. Not getting invested into it though. Move on to the welterweight prelim. You got Abubakar Nurmagomedov, cousin of Habib, I believe, and Gaji Omar Gadzhiev worked on that one. um, Gadzhiev coming down in weight, though. He was up at middleweight. This fight's going to take place at welterweight. His only loss is to Caio Baralho, who we talked about earlier, but undefeated. Before that, he had an absolutely nasty knee bar on Dana White Contender Series. That was a little hard to watch. Slight favorite or slight underdog here. Both fighters from Russia. Abubakar, it's been almost a year and a half off since his last fight against Jared Gooden. Um, in my opinion, I think this one's dog or pass.
Oh,
Uh,
absolutely.
just like Abubakar has never lived up to the Nurmagomedov name, in my opinion. Some people might get a little upset about that, but you hear the name Nurmagomedov and you expect great things. He's been pretty. I mean, he's 16-3-1, so you can't like shit on him too much. But his losses, you got triangle choked by David Zavada. Like David Zavada is nothing special at all. And then you got rear naked choked in PFL to Pavel Kush. That was 4 years ago, but still not a great look. I think Gadzhiev is going to be a little bit bigger than him. Both fighters probably want to take it to the ground, but both fighters are capable of standing and trading. I'm going to take the dog here. I definitely will be throwing some dough at him as well. What are you thinking on this one?
Yeah, I actually really like the dog. Gaji coming off the loss to Caio, but like we talked about earlier, Caio is a monster. Before that, he's on the Contender Series, got the knee bar. The one thing that does scare me about him is if you look at his past resume before Dana White's Contender Series, some lower level guys, and it's like his 7th or 8th pro fight. He fought a guy that was 0-0. So it's kind of like you don't know right now where exactly he's at either. But watching him in his past couple of fights, I think he's definitely got the potential to compete at this level and be pretty damn dangerous. A guy who can submit you. He's got some punches. He's broken guys to where they literally quit in the corner. I do love him as an underdog here. If you look at Nurmagomedov's past, loses by submission. I don't want to say fairly often, but David Zawada lost by triangle choke after taking him down. For a Nurmagomedov to get submitted by a guy off his back, it just does not sit right with me. I just don't think he, like you said, is quite up to par with the guys that are surrounding him. He's an okay striker, but his game plan is usually to grind out decisions, get it to the ground. And he's going to be going up against Gaji, who will not mind doing that, who will be looking for more active submissions than Nurmagomedov. So for an underdog here, I love Gaji in this position. I really do. I love it.
Yeah, I also love Gaji by sub at plus 650.
That's
I
nice.
think that's I already put a little sprinkle on that.
Yep.
I think at that price you got to throw it on there, considering Nurmagomedov's past, and in all likelihood this fight hits the ground.
Right.
Also, that loss to Caio Baralho was a technical decision. You got like kneed in the head. It was round 2. It might have been round 3, but
yeah,
either way, didn't end in the best way for him. So who knows? He could have came back, and as we said earlier, Caio Baralho seems to be like world class material. So
right. Yep.
All right, both on the dog. Hopefully, he comes through.
Yeah.
Next fight, we got Armen Petrogian and AJ Dobson. I think this one could be an absolute banger.
It could be a lot of fun.
Dobson coming off the loss to Malkoun, who got the guy who can't finish a sandwich, Jacob Malkoun.
Yep.
Couldn't finish a guy with one leg, so couldn't finish AJ Dobson either. Armen Petrogian lost to Caio Baralho. mentioned many times throughout this podcast. The win over Gregory Rodriguez, which was pretty impressive. That was a war though, and could have went either way. Split decision.
Yeah.
Who are you thinking on this one?
It's kind of tough. Armen Petrogian, he can strike. He's fun to watch. He does really good work to the body. I mean, he's got body kick knockouts before. On the Contender Series, you could tell that he didn't really like the pressure. He was kind of getting chain wrestled a little bit, taken down 2 or 3 times in that first round before he found the knockout. So I don't necessarily think AJ Dobson is a good wrestler or anything. I don't think he's a technical striker. He comes out there super, super aggressive. He will go for takedowns. He is a super strong guy. But the one thing that I've noticed about AJ Dobson is he kind of gets tired a little bit. He has a lot of big movements, a lot of explosive energy early. But as the fights go on, I don't want to say he looks gassed, but he's definitely not as explosive. He's not swinging as hard. Whereas Armen Petrogian showed in that Dana White's Contender Series fight that he'll stay cool, calm, and collected. He'll let you kind of do your thing, get you a little bit tired, and he's definitely powerful on the feet and can be a lot of fun to watch. I do like Armen Petrogian here. I think he's going to find a knockout in my opinion. I think AJ Dobson a little bit reckless on the feet and wild is going to leave that chin open. Armen Petrogian a little more technical, skilled, a little better precision. So for that reason, I got to go with Armen Petrogian in this fight.
Yeah, I definitely see where you're coming from on there. I think Petrogian, in all likelihood, does get the win. He's a 2-1 favorite, but at that price, I'm not paying that.
Yeah.
In all likelihood, this fight stays on the feet for as long as both guy wants it to. Both guys don't have very good takedown defense, but luckily for them, neither guy really wants to get a takedown. So
Right.
This fight's probably going to stay on the feet. Both guys are very powerful. To me, it's dog or pass. Dobson, as you said, does tend to wear as the fight goes on as far as his gas tank. As you saw that in the Malkoun fight, he definitely won the first round, and then Malkoun started to push the pace on him, and he kind of folded to it.
Yeah.
For Petrogian, he's there from start to finish, especially in that fight with Gregory Rodriguez. He showed really good gas tank in that one. Both guys went back and forth the entire fight. I'm just dog or pass on this one. I think Dobson is powerful. So is Petrogian. Both guys are very powerful, and in that case, 2 guys very powerful. I want to be with the dog if they're going to stay standing. So if I'm gonna bet it, I'm gonna go with the dog. But I'll take Dobson. I'll throw it out there. I'll take Dobson for my pick, and then if I bet on it, I'm definitely picking Dobson.
Yeah, and I'm not necessarily crazy about the money line. If you are on Petrosian's side, it's not necessarily a great parlay piece either, because if you look at AJ Dobson's record, he does have a decent amount of finishes. It could definitely be one of those parlay busters for sure. So yeah, I don't mind the dog or pass either. Probably a fight that I'm going to play whoever I want to win by knockout, just because the odds are going to be juicy. In this case, Armen Petrogian, that would be my play, would be him by knockout. But it's also one that you might just sit back and watch and see how these two guys kind of advance their careers, because they both are fairly new at this MMA game. 6-2 versus what's Dobson? 6-1 maybe.
6-1, yeah.
6-1, yeah. So both guys still decently early in their career. A lot of room to grow and get better. I think it's one of those fights where someone's going to take that next step here. I think it's going to be Petrogian, but I'm not super confident in throwing my money on either one.
Yeah, I agree. A little greasy fight there. We'll move on to the flyweight prelim. The much anticipated Muhammad Makhachev coming back onto the scene. Last fought on the London card against Charles Johnson. Malcolm Gordon going to be a big dog in this one. All the hype is around Muhammad Makhachev. It is 8 months off for Malcolm Gordon, in which he got the win in a really weird way. The arm kind of giving out when Dennis Bonder was like trying to post against the fence, broke his arm or dislocated or whatever, and gets the win there. But for Makhachev, undefeated amateur, undefeated pro, just looks like the next best thing in the flyweight division. It seems like he's destined to be a champion one day. Minus 700 favorite here. Wouldn't expect anything less. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to bet against Muhammad Makhachev. 7-0 in that last fight, you know, he showed how dominant he can be in position. I mean, he didn't really necessarily go for the finish. I had him winning by finish, by submission. And it was almost frustrating to watch because he'd take the back, take you down. The guy would get back up and he'd rinse and repeat the whole entire fight. But as far as Malcolm Gordon going out there and trying to grapple or wrestle with him, I don't see him having any success at all. I think Muhammad Makhachev is just going to be levels above him in that category. But at minus 1,000, I think I saw earlier. I'm not sure exactly what he is right now, but it's a huge number. There's not any value, picking anybody straight up, not even really to put him in a parlay. I mean, that's just at minus 1,000. That's so risky. Anything can happen in this sport.
He's minus 820 on Bet Openly. That's the best you're going to get.
Which is crazy to jump from minus 1,000 to minus 820. Shout out Bet Openly. The best odds you'll find at all times. But Muhammad Makhachev, I'm interested to see what the submission prop's going to be when it comes out, or if it has already. I'm not seeing it. But if there's some value there, that's what I would take, even though it bit me in the ass last time. I do think he's going to be better than Malcolm Gordon. I think Muhammad Makhachev over there, that part of the world, he trains overseas as well. He's going to be more pumped up. I think he's going to look for a finish. I think he could get it against Malcolm Gordon here. Muhammad Makhachev is going to take this one. I think it's a no-brainer. I don't see Malcolm Gordon just having any success against a guy like Makhachev. I really don't. And I'll leave it with Makhachev just going to be levels above him as far as mixed martial arts goes.
I agree. Makhachev by sub is plus 125 on the book I'm currently looking at. I won't say, but that's not terrible. I do remember in the last fight that Makhachev had against Charles Johnson that I was watching some MMA show, and this guy was like, Charles Johnson will get taken down multiple times, but he'll get back up like right away. And that's exactly what happened. So Makhachev lands like 11 takedowns, but the dude just gets right up, posts, and Makhachev did that kind of like lace thing with his legs and really just controlled him the entire fight, but put him through hell, basically. It's like just wet blanket on him the entire time, take him down, and the guy would get back up, take him down. So I don't know that I see that happening in this one. I see Makhachev definitely dominating this fight, but I don't see Malcolm Gordon putting up that kind of fight as far as getting back up from the ground. I would see him more taking chances. I think he knows he's going to be a dog in this one. He is very explosive. I mean, most flyweights are, but Malcolm Gordon is powerful. I think he's one of the fastest dudes in the UFC. Just watching him fight, the dude's quick as hell. So he's going to have to lean into that and look for a finish. I don't think there's any chance he wins a decision here. Makhachev's just too good. Let me just look and see what Makhachev. Okay, it's not out yet, but Makhachev inside the distance. I'd be interested to see what that is. I'd probably say it's going to be around minus 150, minus 200, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It looks like the over/under at 1.5 rounds is a pick'em right now. Could go either way, which I don't really mind the over right there. I think Makhachev, if he does find a finish, could be later in the fight. While Malcolm Gordon has some energy, maybe he does fend off some of those submission attempts. Maybe he gets up a time or two early in the fight. But I think Makhachev wears him down, and if he does find a sub or a finish, it's going to be later on in the fight. So I don't mind the over here at all. It's actually pretty decent value at minus 115.
Yeah, I didn't even look at that, but that sounds pretty good right now.
Absolutely. I think this is where Vegas is going to, get some people picking that unders because they hear all about Muhammad Makhachev. He's the next best thing. He could be champion, super dominant. And they're like, oh, well, he's a minus 1,000 favorite. He's going to go out there and finish this guy right away. which isn't necessarily the case with Makhachev in his past fights when he's been this big of a favorite before. So yeah, I think that could be a little Vegas trying to get people to take that under right there when, this thing might go over 1.5 easy.
Yeah, I mean, and he's got that style that's like it could stall and take a lot of time off the clock.
Definitely.
So I kind of like that. I definitely gonna keep that in my mind.
It's not a bad one. It's not a bad one. There's some value there.
Yeah. We'll move on to the first fight of the night. The one everyone's looking forward to. Lena Landsberg, the elbow queen, and Karol Hosa. This one, not the greatest banger to start off with, but decent fight in the bantamweight division for the females. Landsberg, 40 years old. I would not be surprised if she threw the gloves in after this one.
Yeah.
I would kind of assume she would after her last fight, but she's back. And for Hosa, got absolutely mauled by Sarah McMahon at UFC Columbus. Landsberg did too when she fought McMahon 2 years ago. But both girls probably want to keep it standing. I would assume it's going to go the distance, but I don't hate Karol Hosa by KO. I thought it was like plus 600, somewhere around there, or plus. It was some pretty good dog money for her being I think she's like a 3-1 favorite on most books now. I would expect that to keep growing. I want to take Karol Hosa. Lena Landsberg's 40 years old. I'm not going to bet on a 40-year-old woman's MMA fighter that is 2-3 in her last 5. I mean, Sarah McMahon is, I think, like 40 years old or something, and she still looks pretty good, but she's a wrestler, and if she's going to go against a striker like that, I could see that. But both girls are strikers, and I got to go with Karol Hosa here. What do you think?
Absolutely. No, I'm the same way. I think it's actually a pretty good parlay piece. Pretty confident that Karol, she's going to be the better fighter. When you look at Lena's record, there's a lot of red for losses, especially lately. She's coming off of 2 losses. Like you talked about, the one against Sarah McMahon, who is older but is a super good wrestler. She did beat Macy Chiasson, which is a good win. But other than that, Tanya Evinger lost to Yana Kunitska, won against Gina Mazzani, and Gina Mazzani, not a good female MMA fighter. You go look at her record, she should beat her. But then she lost to Aspen Ladd, who we all know is out of the UFC, probably more so for weight cutting issues. She has fought Chris Cyborg, so I mean she's got some decent names that she's fought, but I just don't, at this age, I just don't think she's going to go out there and beat Karol Hosa at all. I think this is a perfect parlay piece. It's exactly what I'm going to be doing in this one. Karol Hosa, the odds right now, what is she, minus 205? Karol Hosa, minus 305, looks like.
Yeah.
So really, there's, taking it straight up, not a lot of value for a straight bet. But again, this is my perfect parlay piece to kick off the UFC 280 card.
Yeah, I don't hate that at all. I think if women's MMA, I'm always a little weary, but in this case, it's like a fighter that is coming off a loss. She's younger, she's definitely more hungry and more athletic, versus a fighter that's definitely out the door and on a losing streak. So I definitely don't hate that.
And I'm really curious to know how the UFC got to this point to where they thought, okay, let's kick the early prelims off with Karol Hosa and Lena Landsberg. I mean, especially for UFC 280, I'm not sure where they came up with this fight, but it is what it is.
Yeah, just throw in a bunch of just insane fights and then throw that one on there.
Yeah.
But the Magomed Mustafayev fight with the Japan guy got canceled today.
Yep.
That one was kind of sucked to see that one go because I wanted to see Mustafayev fight again. But we also had Shamil Abdurakhimov and Jilton Almeida fall through. Marina Rodriguez and Amanda Lemos fell through quite a while back, but a couple solid fights that would have made this fight card even better. But we are left with 13 fights And from the top down, I got Charles Oliveira, Aljamain Sterling, Petrogian, Mateusz Gamrot, Manon Fiero, Bilal Muhammad, Kyle Barayo, Vulcan Uzdemir, Zubara Tukugov, Gaji Omar Gajiev, AJ Dobson, Muhammad Makhachev, and Karol Hosa.
Yep, I am the same way, except I've got to go with Islam Makhachev, just one of those gut feelings things. But I will be rooting for Charles Oliveira. I think he's a better champion. I think he brings, a lot more fans, at least on this side of the world. Going Aljo, I'm going Petrogian, although I'm not going to be surprised if we see O'Malley get the upset here. Gamrot, Faro, Sean Brady, we're going to differ on that one. Kyle, Vulcan Ozdemir, hopefully by KO. Zubara, the underdog Gaji. I'm going Armin Petrosian, and then we got Makhachev and Karol Rosa. But if I'm going to play this parlay, it's going to be Karol Rosa to kick it off. After that, I am going to throw Armin Petrosian's money line on there at minus 205. And to end the show, I'm going to take Manon Fiorot. That is going to be my 3-leg parlay for this weekend at UFC 280. Fairly confident in that one. But again, these big cards, man, anything happens. We've seen it time and time again. UFC 279, 278, and all the cards over the summer. There's been some bigger upsets. So again, not fairly confident in any big parlays you put out, but it's going to be such a fun card, and I can't wait for Saturday. It's going to be in the morning too. Yeah. If you're in the U.S., it's going to be a super early card. So I have a love-hate relationship with that. I like waking up and having the fights on right away, but like 5 or 6 p.m. hits and the fights are over. I'm like, fuck, man. I wish we could be watching the fights right now.
It's like, what do you do with the rest of your day? You're so used to staying up late and then having trouble falling asleep and all that stuff. So, the plays that I put Charles Oliveira money line in at plus 160, like probably 4 months ago. And then I just put another one in at 151 on Bet Openly. Shout out Bet Openly. Probably like 2 weeks ago. And then I got a little bit on Fiero money line. I got Omar Gajiev by sub at plus 650. I'll definitely be adding more to the straight plays there. Then the only parlay I got right now is one that I made a while ago as well. Fiero and Macayev at minus 149. I really wanted to back Fiero, and then Makhachev was like minus 750 at the time. So I was like, I'm very confident Makhachev's going to win that fight. Yeah. It just helps it get Fiero's flying down a little bit there. So that's all I got right now for bets. As I said, I'll definitely be adding more to that. All my full betting card for the UFC 280 will go out on Twitter and Instagram, and then I'll throw it on the story at HeyJivePicks on TikTok as well. HeyJivePicks on all respective socials. What about you?
Yep, for TikTok at the parlay, Instagram the parlay _media, and YouTube the parlay MMA. But we kind of got to announce that the Double Egg MMA show here on YouTube is also going to TikTok and Instagram as well, which is exciting. We're going to be putting a lot of this content up there. So you can find that at the Double Egg. Search it. You'll see our logo. Shoot us a follow. I imagine we're just going to put content out on every single platform. So whatever social media platform you are on, you'll be able to find us on.
That's right. At the Double Egg on Instagram and TikTok. And then you're watching this on YouTube. Subscribe, like, and comment. Comment down any picks you defer us on, or if you agree on anything. I know the world is very separated on the Islam and Charles fight. So I'm sure people have some opinions on those. But other than that, anything else you want to say?
That's all I got, man. I cannot wait for Saturday, the most anticipated card of the whole entire UFC year. 280, man. It's stacked from head to toe. I can't wait. I'm not going to be able to sleep Friday night. I know you probably won't be able to as well, especially with the early fights. Oh, yeah. And I wish it was Friday night right now.
I agree. Well, thank you for watching the Double Egg. HeyJivePicks here. Parlay. As always, thank you. And we will see you next week. Hopefully recapping some great fights.
Yes, sir.